DJNTV show is sponsored by DJ Event Planner, Electra Voice, DJ Trivia and DJ Bingo, ProX Direct, NLFX Pro, Promo Only, Odyssey Cases, Perfect Portals, JMOZ Lighting, Instant DJ Requests, and our DJNTV Insiders. This is John Young from DJNTV. Thanks for watching. Good evening and welcome to Monday night here on DJNTV. It is DJNTV training night. This is one of the nights we do this monthly, pretty much 12 months of the year. Well, typically about 11. There's sometimes we have things come up, but we do this third Monday of the month. Now, tonight we're going to be getting into a lot of tips and ideas, a lot of information from our fellow DJ peers out there, talking about how they handle the stress of what we do, how they keep themselves refreshed when they've got multiple events over a short period of time, or if you've been busy with the wedding season as an example. How do you keep, by this time of the year, Upper Midwest, we've been doing weddings pretty much May, June, July, and you get into August, and there's some years that it's been really, really tough when you get into August to keep a smile on your face when you're playing, well, the YMCA back in the day, or whatever the tune is of the season this year. So tonight we're going to be digging into that, and we're going to have Mike Walter will be with me later live, kind of wrapping up the show. He and I will be having a discussion on that. But we've got a variety of different DJs. Dan was at DJX last week, and he did a lot of interviewing, kind of on the man on the street type of thing, and he was out there doing his things. And so we've got a lot of folks from DJX. If you go into the description of the video, you've got a full list of everyone who's going to be on tonight. So there's a lot of little tidbits coming from that. Then we're going to start off, Brian Redd's going to be kicking us off. Dan and Brian talked a little bit about it. Then Jason Cathcart. We've got just a variety of people who are going to be sharing tonight. So there's a lot of great information that you're going to get. Some of it will be things that you are doing. Some of it might be things you did and forgot about. Some things that you've heard of and you were, But I think tonight one of the things that you're going to get from this is as you hear people talking about similar things, they may not be the exact same thing, but it's very similar and could be put into a category. You're going to be like, maybe doing those types of activities might be beneficial. So that's why we really wanted to have kind of a variety of voices for our show tonight. So we're really looking forward to that. We've got, of course, after we get done tonight, we've got our September and October. We've got multiple shows coming up here this fall and this winter. Again, third Monday of the month. When this is done tonight, if you are still hanging around and have some time, Hanging with Howie is coming up at 10 o'clock in our chill room. DJNTV.com/chill. Every Monday and Tuesday nights, except when the guys are at the convention. They are in the chill room, and they are doing a recording for the first about half hour to an hour, depending upon what night and what the topic is. But DJNTV.com/chill, Hanging with Howie is going to be there, and they're going to talk a little bit about getting some more thoughts of what those in the chill room are, what they do to keep their head in the game, because that's a big part of what we do. You get to the point of the season, if you're starting to feel burned out, you're starting to, that smile on your face is kind of turning into a frown, you're not looking like you're enjoying yourself behind the system, that will inhibit future referrals. And that's why doing the things you're going to hear about tonight and back and forth is going to be so important, because we don't want to be turning people away, because this is, for us in the Upper Midwest, this late August through early October is our prime wedding season, and we really have to be making hay and making connections and lining up referrals for 2023-2024. So it's a 7 o'clock straight up right here in central Minnesota. So we're going to just jump right into our first session. We're going to be kind of bouncing through, and I'll be bouncing back and forth a little bit with each between the sessions. So the first one, we've got Dan and Brian, and we're going to get things kicked off.
Welcome, everybody. And with us right now, we have the one, the only Brian S. Red.
Hi.
I'm sure there's probably other Brian Reds out there. I don't know.
I have a cousin, Brian Red. That's why I use the S.
Oh, I was always wondering if there was a reason behind it.
When I was working for Motorola back in the 90s, I worked with some pretty amazing people. One of the guy who was heading our project was actually the same guy who created the Star Wars program during the Reagan administration. Okay. Really smart guy, but I liked him a lot. He was really cool. He would do silly things like, Brian, do you see my office right now? So I'd go into his office and I'd sit down and say, check out this cool cartoon I found online. When the internet was a big deal, and I'm looking at like early South Park, Spirit of Christmas cartoons and stuff. That's the kind of guy he was. But they told me whenever I would sign documents, they said, always use your middle initial. So, well, why? So not confuse you with a different Brian Red. It's just a professional thing to do. So ever since then, I've always used my middle initial on everything I've signed. And I created my YouTube channel with, Brian S. Red. So I just kind of went with it. So yeah, the S isn't necessary. It's just more of a professional thing that people much smarter than me suggest that I do.
I think it was a good idea. So we definitely keep you straight. That's for sure.
Yeah. So don't confuse me with my cousin, Brian Red. Yeah.
Exactly. Who might be a DJ, and
I don't know him very well. I don't think he is. He's probably a forklift driver or something, but yeah.
Okay. So tonight, what we're talking about, is just this idea of, again, recharging and staying on top. So I think to help kind of put it in perspective, though, for a lot of people, what would you consider is a busy amount of work for you? One weekend, like one event every weekend. Is it typical for you to have more than that, less than that? When you say I'm busy, what does that mean to you?
It means that a lot of people want things from me usually. In as far as events goes, I don't have a problem doing events one after the other. What I have a problem with is if the person I'm doing the events for is maybe not real secure about the event. And so I'm feeding off of their energy, I guess. If they're nervous, I'm nervous. If they're calm, I'm calm. I just kind of try to feed off of others, but doing the events, it's not a problem. Even the prep for events isn't hard. Sometimes it is, though. It just depends on who the client is. And then there are other times when I just have a lot of other things being thrown at me while I'm trying to get ready for events. That can be difficult. And that's family, that's personal stuff. Or, DJ related stuff. Like, I don't know, Dan Carpenter hitting me up in the middle of the afternoon and saying, we need to do an interview about how busy you get and how you manage your time. Those kind of things.
I do appreciate you because I was like, oh, let's, we've got like 2 weeks to put this together. And he's like, right. How about this afternoon?
Well, the more you procrastinate, the more you procrastinate, Dan, I think the harder it gets because then stuff starts piling up out here. It's better, I feel like, when things pop up just to knock them out right away. That way you can keep it straight. If I have to, look ahead on my schedule a week, there's a problem because who knows what's going to happen in a week. 2 weeks ago, I didn't know I was going to Detroit. I went to Detroit last weekend. So, things just happen. And I think you have to be ready to jump, especially in our business, the type of things that we do, the gigs come when they come. So I think the quicker you can knock things out, the better when they're on your plate.
So speaking of that, do you have kind of a set schedule? You talked about, prepping for events and getting prepared for that. Is there a typical schedule you follow? For example, let's say you do an event on Saturday. Do you start prepping for the next one then on Sunday? Are you prepping even before the event that you just did? What do you have a kind of a schedule that you go through for that?
That's a good question. Because of my physical condition, I know that I have to pace myself. So what I'll do is I will try to have everything completed for the event by Thursday. I try to. It doesn't always work out that way, but I do try to have everything completed by then. And what that does is it allows me Friday to relax. There's no pressure. I can take my time. Even loading the vehicle is part of that. So timeline's done. All the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, vehicles loaded, computers updated, everything's good. And well, I got a cat on me. And so then I can relax on Friday. That doesn't happen always that way, but sometimes it does. And I'm able to, rest up for the event. And the other thing that I do, and it sounds funny, but I have to rearrange my sleeping schedule. And that is probably the hardest thing. Okay. When, like, sometimes, as DJs, one of the reasons I got into this is because I'm nocturnal. I love doing things at night. But often I'll have clients who want morning events or events that I have to get up in the morning and prep for. To get enough sleep the night before is sometimes hard. Because I have to get to sleep now, because if I get to sleep now, I'll have 6 hours and I'm good 6 hours, but then I'll need another 2 hours to kind of wake up and have my coffee and get cleaned up. That's hard. If you're not on that schedule, for me to just change like that is difficult to do.
Your cat wants to be on.
Yeah, this is Ollie, the new addition to our family. We lost our 21-year-old Milo about a month ago, and my wife was pretty depressed, and so I made the call to go to the Humane Society and adopt. So now we have Ollie, and Ollie's my buddy.
Nice. So I like the coloring on.
Saying hello. Yeah, he's got kind of a cinnamon twist here thing going. See that?
Yeah.
Yes. She wanted to call him Cinnamon, and I said, no, that sounds like a girl who's a dancer. So let's not do that. So we kept the name he came with, which is Ollie, but I call him Allie, like Alley Cat. So
okay. Switching back, so we talked about prep. No, you're fine.
Distraction
things happen when we get distracted by cats. Exactly.
Yes.
Switching back, so when you're talking about coming off of your event, then what are some of the things that you do immediately after the event? So you've already kind of adjusted your sleep schedule. Do you kind of reverse that, or what are some things you do like immediately after your event to get back on Brian S. Red?
Well, okay, how about the event that I did? Well, that's not a good example. On a typical wedding, let's say that somebody wants to get married at 1:00 and they want me to be there for ceremony, but then the reception starts at like 5 or whatever and goes to 11:00. That's how it usually works. It's not that it's just a morning job. It's just that the job starts early and I have to be ready early and leave the house early to get to the job. That hardly ever means that, oh yeah, I'm getting up in the morning, I'm doing a job, and then I'm coming home in the morning. That happens so rare. There was a car show where I came home at 1:00 and that was weird. But most of the time, no, I'm still there late. And what I do, and this is just a me thing, I'm so wound up at the event, it takes me hours to wind down from it. I know some people do an event and they're exhausted, they drive home and they go to bed. I cannot do that. I'm wide awake, which is good because I'm driving. And yeah, so I come off of the event on a high. So if my event ends at midnight and I had to be there, I had to get up at, let's just say I get up at 9 a.m. to get ready for it because of, the ceremony or whatever it may have been, early setup, whatever, or even the drive. I get out at midnight. It's been a long day. It's okay. I can do it. I get home. I'm up until the sun comes up. That's just who I am. And then I sleep, and usually I'm about a 6-hour guy. So I'll sleep until noon, 1:00, and then I will start whatever happens on a Sunday, which ideally is nothing, and that's time to see the kids. My children live close by. They're adults, they own houses and stuff, but it's nice to see the kids when I can. I can see mom anytime she's retired, but the kids, I'm kind of limited on that work schedule for them sometimes. So I've tried to do a family day, and then Monday, we'll look at what's happening for the week on Monday. We'll see what's going on. It's nice to complete the timeline. Like I said, cross all the T's, dot all the I's early in the week. Mm-hmm. There's always the Tuesday night broadcast. Mm-hmm. So I like to have things wrapped up, by the Tuesday night broadcast. And then any other prep I have to do, let's get it done. Let's just get it done at least by Thursday, and then take a day somewhere. You have to take that downtime. It's so important to me to take the downtime for family, for yourself, and pace yourself on that.
So do you feel then when you have these multiple events that are close together for you, do you find those downtime days, do you find them more important, more absolutes? Because I could also see sometimes, for example, family, you mentioned that sometimes there's requirements there or needs that can pull us away. Do you find when you have a lot of events that you're like, listen, I'm sorry, I'm putting the X, this is a day off, I need to breathe, or I'm not going to be able to be me? I do it. Absolutely. In fact, when I got home from Detroit, and by the way, the Detroit thing that I did, it was a tech job, and it was essentially a 2-day tech job that ate up 4 days because there were 2 travel days. And when I got home, I got a call from a client who I'm doing a class reunion for in October, demanding insurance certificates immediately for the hall and contracts. And I had told this client before I left for Detroit, it's like, look, I will get you these things. I will be home early in the week next week. Let me just kind of get my life, situated, get a little rest, and I'll get on this stuff. But he called me immediately when I got home. And I said, look, I just got home. The answer is no, you're going to have to wait. I just got home. Sometimes you just have to learn to say no because it's too much. It really is. If you just say yes all the time and jump on stuff all the time, I personally would burn out. I would get angry. I would get bitter. I can't do that. I have to pace myself and I have to say no. Okay. Of course, he got what he wanted, but in fact, I handled it. I handled it this morning. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not doing it immediately when I get home. Come on, dude. I just got home. You'll get this stuff. I told you you'd get it. And I'm not afraid to say that to a client. I'm not a head nodder. I'm just not that guy. If you want that guy, hire somebody else. I'm not that guy. I'll do it when I can. I just can't right now. So yeah, they're absolutes. You'd have to throw a lot of money at me to interfere with my downtime. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very important. Like you just mentioned, the ability to say no, the power of saying no, for yourself. Because I think the more you say yes, the more that can be expected of you, and not that that's a bad thing, but there's a line. There needs to be a line for yourself, and that's definitely important there. Well, I want to be of service to everyone. I want to be of service to my family. I want to be of service to my clients. I want to be of service to my colleagues and my friends. But I can't be of service to anyone if I'm not here anymore. If I've overdone it and I've overexerted myself and I'm not able to, if I'm not here, I can't help you. So, I can't kill myself over this stuff. I have to say no. I have to take care of me so I can take care of you. That's kind of how I look at it. Okay. So this is kind of my last question to wrap us up, and we can talk forever if we want to, but what would you say is your best tip? You talked about the burnout piece. What would you say is your best tip for avoiding burnout? Find a hobby unrelated to this thing we do. Find something else to take your mind off of this thing, because if you're only focused on this thing for too long, you're going to burn out. I mean, I've been doing this. Oh, Dan, don't make me do math here, but it's just shy of 40 years I've been a DJ. And there have been times in my life where I have been so focused on just that aspect of it that I mean, I can't do it anymore. You can't do it for that long. You can do it for a while, but you can't just do it indefinitely. So, excuse me, find something to do that you like, that you love, to get your mind off of things. It's been very helpful. And the quality of my product as a DJ. So for the last 4 years, it's been building a car. It was my father's car. I've been building it.
and learning about it and looking at options and putting together formulas for suspension and cooling systems and fuel systems and everything. I mean, it's a slow process because I'm not rich and I can't just, hire Tony to build it for me. I'm doing it myself, one-handed. But it's great to walk away. It's when I'm looking at DJ stuff and or client stuff or just something that's stressful, it's really cool. Just like, I'm turning this off for now. And I'm going to figure out how to do this thing with my car. And I'm going to look at options and I'm going to learn some things. It's completely unrelated to DJing. And I like that. That is, to me, so helpful. Completely gets your mind off of things. And what's cool about it is once you come back to the DJ thing, you're almost looking at it with new eyes. It's fresh. I would recommend the same thing if you're interested in learning how to mix. Some people will work with turntables strictly, just for example, and they might hit like a brick wall where they just can't go any further. They've gone as far as they can, and they can't overcome this one place. What I've done is I've changed format. I can't do it on a turntable, so let me see if I can try it with CDs. Well, I can't do it with, okay, I've gotten a little further with this. Now I'm going to try it with software. Okay, now I'm going to try it with this other software. And then go back to the turntable, and hey, I figured it out. I just needed to see it from a different perspective with fresh eyes. It's helpful for me. So it's good to walk away and do something different. And like I said, the unrelated thing is good just for your mental health, but even the related thing, changing up the way you do things, I think is very helpful for us to grow.
Absolutely. And just like you said, that fresh eyes, like that's the key, whether it's you turn your back to do the car. And have you only been a car guy for 4 years, like in that aspect of building? This one you've been working on for 4 years.
At this, what am I looking for, Dan? You're the teacher here. At this level, perhaps. Okay. This is my first. I've never done anything older than me. I've done newer cars. I was in the car business.
Okay.
This is just different. This is my first Ford. So that's a whole new animal. The Ford Windsor engine is different. Everything, the distributor is on the front instead of the back, like the Chevy is, and just works differently. Like the carburetion's different on it. Everything's different on it. But primarily, I've done things with cars where it's like, okay, here's a car that runs and drives, and I'm going to make it look like this and act like this. That I can do. But to take a shell and just say, okay, this car is older than me, and I don't know much about them, so I have to learn all about them and build this car. Yeah, it's the first time I've done that.
Wow.
I've done interiors, I've done body stuff, I've done some engine stuff, but not anything that old. So yeah, and it's fun and it's cool.
I love seeing your posts on it because I've never been a car guy other than an appreciative type of car guy.
Sure.
Right. I never got into that stuff. So seeing your posts and seeing your pictures of that and stuff, I've always kind of like, oh, that's awesome.
I know enough to be dangerous. It's about it. I mean, there are people out there just run circles around me on this stuff. Last night, as a matter of fact, speaking of what we're talking about, just doing things like and getting them off your plate. I hadn't left the house since I gotten home from Detroit. I got home on Sunday afternoon, went out to dinner with my son-in-law or lunch with my son-in-law when he picked me up from the airport. And then I got home probably about 2:30, 3 o'clock. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't go anywhere yesterday, yesterday until late. I did the broadcast with Howie for his hanging out with Howie. And as I'm doing the broadcast, my wife is saying, I need you to go to the store to pick stuff up. So, I muted the microphone. I'm like, all right, when I'm done with this, I'll go. So I went to the store. And as I'm on my way to the store, I hear a squeak in my front suspension. I've heard the squeak on and off for quite a while. And I've addressed this and this and this on it, and I'm thinking, what I haven't done is check that ball joint. I'll have to do that. When? How about now? So I pull in the driveway and I go in the house. My wife's on the couch. I said, get a flashlight and meet me in the driveway. She says, why? So we're going to try to fix this squeak. So she's out there holding the flashlight. I have a grease gun in a rag, and I get it fixed. Now, that's ridiculous. I should have waited until another time to do it. But I did it at 11 o'clock last night because that's when I was thinking about it, and I knew I could do it. I knew it wouldn't take long. I just got it off my plate. If I would have said, okay, well, you know what? I'll handle this later on in the week, I probably wouldn't have. I'd have gotten backed up with other things. So just getting on stuff, like that and addressing them and just trying to sometimes it's a matter of figuring them out. What's the problem? The diagnostic part isn't always as straightforward. Sometimes it is. Sometimes I nail it. I'm pretty good at diagnostics with vehicles, but I didn't on this one. It just didn't make sense. And I tried the upper control arm and all kinds of stuff, but it turned out to be the ball joint. It just occurred to me after going to Detroit, not driving for a while, getting back in the car. Maybe I should check that ball joint. And sure enough, that's exactly what it was. So I got away from it. I came back to it, saw it with fresh eyes, and I addressed it immediately. So that's the kind of car guy I am.
Right there.
Yeah.
You just wrapped up our entire interview in like 2 sentences.
Was that good?
That was good. That was good.
Relevant?
If you did not write something down from that one, back the video up and watch that again, because just the idea of the fresh eyes and attacking it in that way and not letting it procrastinate, because that's part of what leads to burnout. Is just,
and it wasn't stressful.
No.
What would be stressful would be me waking up today and saying, when am I going to get that ball joint addressed? I have all these other things I have to do. And I had to wait until today to do them. I couldn't do them last night. When am I going to make time to do this? No, that was the time to do it. It was ridiculous with a flashlight. And I live in the city. It's not like I pulled into a garage and turned the shop lights on. No, I'm in my narrow driveway. I can barely fit my vehicles between the two houses here, my house, my neighbor's house. It's a very narrow driveway. And I went downstairs, grabbed my grease gun. She grabbed the flashlight and we did it. Not a big deal, but yeah, I don't know. Just handle stuff. Handle it when you can.
Absolutely. And you have a very understanding wife who's willing to hold the flashlight at 11 o'clock at night so you can grease it.
Yeah, she's definitely my wing girl. She's I couldn't ask for better. I really couldn't. She puts up with my crap. That's all I ask for. That's a lot of crap to put up with, and she can do it. So that's amazing.
That's awesome. Well, Brian, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be able to talk about how we can handle all those elements of our business. But I do very much appreciate it. We'll be back with our next interview here in just a few moments. Well, welcome. Well, welcome everybody. With me now is Jason Cathcart, a very nice gentleman that I'll be honest with you, I've heard about you for a while, and it's kind of nice to actually connect. But he is the owner, operator, main guy for Dance Shop Productions, a small multi-op company based out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And so, Jason, as we're talking about avoiding burnout, and this I'm sure is also going to have an interesting twist, being the owner of a multi-op. Am I using your term correctly? Are you owner too?
Yeah, I am. You bet.
Okay. I wasn't sure, because I've actually heard, like, I started that one time with somebody and they're like, technically my wife's the owner. And I was like, oh, okay. So just want to make sure. So, but I'm sure that's going to, some of the ownership responsibilities is obviously going to play into some of our questions tonight. But what would you consider to be a busy amount of work for you? So different people have kind of different outlooks on that. What does busy mean to you?
Well, I mean, this year in particular is especially busy because, coming out of a COVID year, we're experiencing about 3 years worth of weddings all at once here. So, my July, we had nearly 40 weddings, which, that's a lot for us. And right now we're sitting at about 130 for the year. And, we haven't even started booking corporate Christmas parties and things like that. So it's a busy year for us for sure.
Let's back up for just to kind of give people some context. For those in the States, we kind of shut down for a couple weeks, a couple months, depending upon where the area was, and then like opened up sporadic throughout the country. Canada was a little bit different. Was it how long were you having to say, I can't do my job?
Better part of 2 years. We got about 3 months in last summer, between late July to October, and we crammed a bunch of weddings in there. But by then it was a slowdown again as people were feeling not confident about what was going on in the world. So we didn't really get started again until March of this year.
So that definitely explains the 3 years compacted into one.
Absolutely.
So, and you can't turn them away, right? You've got to take them while they're there, because thankfully, hopefully, knock on wood, this will never happen again. And we won't have to worry about that. So you take it when you can. So, okay.
Right.
So when you're thinking about your events, in a typical weekend, we'll say average weekend, we'll say, how many events do you personally perform at?
Myself personally, 3 to 4. Depending on the length of the weekend. This year the weekends seem to be expanding from Thursday through to Monday. So myself handling 3 to 4 as a company. Last weekend we had 14 events. So as the owner, even though I'm primarily focused on my own events, I'm still getting text messages from my other DJs, and we got photo booth operators as well. And it doesn't stop, right? So
how do you, we'll take an offshoot here while we're talking about this. What is some of the keys to helping you focus, right? Because you've got your events going on, but you're receiving these text messages, hopefully not, 911 emergency type situations here. What are some of the things that you're doing just to kind of help keep yourself focused?
Well, definitely during the week, keeping a schedule of, prepping my stuff and making sure that everybody else's stuff is getting prepped in a timely order as well. As the owner, I prep a lot of the gear before it goes out the door. So I'm trying to make sure that, everything is going out in a smooth order, so that when these guys get their stuff, that they know that they've got what they need and they can put together their packages properly, right? That said, stuff still happens, and slideshows freeze up and things happen, right? So you're getting frantic text messages. I don't know what's going on, but this happened, that happened, the next thing. Luckily we got a good team that can deal with most of their stuff, and most of my responses are just support, you got this kind of thing, and I can focus back on my own wedding that's going on in front of me at the time. So
that can be, I would imagine that can be a large mental drain, right? Like, a lot of us, we come off of our event, and the idea of picking songs and keeping everybody happy and keeping that dance floor going and everything else could be that mental push. But when you're also potentially putting out those mini fires, you also have that. So what are some things that you do to recharge, let's say immediately after your event? Do you have kind of a typical ride home or a typical thing that you do kind of following that helps you bring yourself back to you?
Yeah, as soon as I get in the car, I've got a podcast on, a lot of true crime type of stuff. Just, by the time I'm done with music and people for the night, the last thing I want to do is turn on the radio and listen to more music on the way home. So, just getting into a story of some kind that just lets me let go of everything that went on through the night as I'm on my drive home. And some of my drive homes are an hour and a half, so I can get a lot of story in. We handle a lot of stuff out in the mountain areas that are just outside of Calgary here. So long drives home. The podcasts are great, and then I try to get some magnesium in me when I get home. Some calcium. Get in bed. We've been on our feet a lot, so those kinds of things prevent like cramping in my legs and stuff like that. Getting some stretching in before I get into bed, just to make sure that I'm not getting up feeling like I'm 140 instead of 42 the next morning, right?
That's good, because I think a lot of us, we don't realize, like even some people who are I don't want to say fit, but like that are more kind of in that frame of mind. They might be doing some stretching beforehand. They typically don't think about afterwards, and especially some of those minerals and vitamins that we need to kind of get ourselves back going. So I think
absolutely, it's a physically taxing job, and I mean, I'm not going to consider myself an athlete by any means, but all the athletes know you need your electrolytes and all of that sort of stuff, and you can't just sweat it all out and not replenish it, right?
Definitely. You mean it gets warm? It gets warm in Canada? I thought it was. I think still has snow on the ground.
It's been a pretty warm summer this year for us, anyway. High 80s. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's important to recognize it. We often joke with John and Ben and some of the other ones that they still have snow, like in August. But so everybody rest assured, especially those people in Florida, Canada is not having snow right now. So
I spent a lot of time in the mountains. There is still snow out there. So
okay. Never mind then. So you talked about what you're doing then on the way home and some of those things you do to get into bed. Is there other things that you do, the day after, especially if you're having multiple events in that weekend, something that you do to kind of help yourself be ready to go the next day? Like, is there other things that you do to kind of start the day or leading into it?
For me, when we're in like a 4-day push of wedding after wedding after wedding, the biggest key for me is to just keep moving. We get into bed, we get our rest in. Hopefully we can get a good 6 to 8 hours in. But, up here, at least, I'm out the door at 10 o'clock in the morning and we're not home until 2 or 3 in the morning. So that doesn't leave a lot of time for anything more than some Tim Hortons on the way to the next gig, but just keep moving. If I stop, I don't know about most of our viewers, but if I stop and close my eyes, I can have a nap at any time, right? So it's a big thing. But when I do get the chance, I'd like to try to get like some 60-minute naps in here and there where we can, and helps refresh the batteries just a little bit.
That's good because you definitely want to stay on top of your game. Now, you mentioned something here. You start at 10, you're not getting home till 2. Now I know some of that's going to be drive time. How long is a typical, and I've heard this before, so I'm kind of leading an answer. I kind of know, but how long is your typical events? Let's say from the start, and we'll talk weddings, the start of ceremony to end of reception. How long does that typically go?
Typically, I would say we're at least 10 hours. At least.
Yeah.
And some are definitely longer. We do definitely get the couples that are having their ceremony at 1 p.m, and we're not wrapping up the reception till 1 a.m.
No. Like
usually with those ones, we do get, a bit of a break between the ceremony and the reception beginning. But, sometimes that break gets eaten up by moving gear from one location to another and setting up a second time. And a typical day for me, 12 to 16 hours for sure.
And I've heard some DJs complain about 5-hour receptions. So
I wish.
Put it in perspective here. You got it easy, everybody. Trust me. All right. So that typical 4 days, we'll say 4 days of weddings, obviously prep time leading into it, running on, little amount of sleep because you do have to, get cleaned up and Timmy's only goes so far. By the way, Timmy's is Duncan for everybody else. Like that's Canada's Duncan. We'll just go with that. Okay. How do you keep your head in the game for a full season? I mean, you talked about March. I'm talking, probably late October, right? Is that kind of your?
Yeah. Typically our season's more like May to October, but this year we got started a little early because things opened up and people jumped right into it. And, that's just the wedding season, obviously. But, we're a little
time. How do you keep going with all those responsibilities and those events? That's taxing.
It is. It's very taxing. A lot of people think this is just a fun job. We go to parties all the time, right? I keep a schedule for sure. Try to be in the office, sounds late, but by like 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday morning. And, but then I'm usually in the office until 7 or 8 or even 9 o'clock at night, depending on, how client meetings and things are going, and and what needs to be done for that particular week. Try to prep music for weekends on Mondays when I can. Sometimes that slides into Tuesday, but keeping that kind of a schedule so that I know that the weekend stuff is done early in the week, so that as the week progresses, as I can prep the gear and have my client meetings a little later in the week if I can try to schedule it that way. It helps to just kind of keep things moving in a timely manner for me, so that I don't end up feeling like all I do is just one thing all week long, right?
So do you talked about Mondays is music prep and does slide into Tuesday depending upon what you have meeting. What is your set schedule then? Monday is prep for the weekend.
Yeah.
Tuesday,
if we got photo booths, I try to do photo booths on Tuesday. Wednesday, any sort of equipment cleanup, maintenance, that sort of stuff that needs to be done before the weekend. And then hopefully Thursday, I'm just having a few client meetings, and then we're sliding into a Friday wedding. So
any downtime for Jason? Like, do you have a hobby outside of what you do?
Yeah, the big thing I've been missing this year especially is being able to get out camping. If I can, steal 3 days where I can go sit in the woods and burn some stuff, but hasn't happened this year. We'll get it back next year. Certainly got a lot more of it than I expected the last 2 years. So you take, you give, and then winter comes early here, right? So we don't do a lot of weddings from November to May. So that's where I get my downtime.
Okay.
And I spend a lot of time skiing then. So
okay. So definitely helps. You talked about the give the take. You have more in the winter, you take away from what you have in the summer. So
absolutely
to balance it out. That's good. So what would you say is probably your best, if you were to take one tip to avoid burnout, and no offense, you sound like you could very easily fall into that category.
Absolutely.
What is your best tip, do you think, for avoiding that burnout?
I mean, I think making sure that you get good rest, getting some exercise in, even if it's only like, 20 minutes here and there, go for a walk, like just get away from your desk, go for a walk the dog, get some fresh air. It could do a lot just to open things back up and prevent you from feeling like all you do is work.
Definitely. Well, Jason, thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to join us. Hopefully you guys got exactly what you need. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, probe you a little bit more about what you do, whether it be relating to avoiding burnout or just about, Dance Shout Productions and that, what's the best way to do so?
I'm easy to find on Facebook. You can send me a message there, or send me a friend request like you did yesterday. And happy to chat with anybody.
Awesome. Well, make sure you take advantage of that. Jason, again, thank you very much for your time. We'll be back in just a few moments. Well, welcome everybody.
Hey guys, what's going on? Chad Allen from San Diego, California, owner of Almost Famous Entertainment. The way I avoid burnout is I take a second, and when I'm working a lot and I'm feeling stressed out, I think about how I get to do what I love to do, and how many people don't get that opportunity and do stuff because they paid a lot of money to go to college, or they're in debt, or whatever the case may be. I'm doing what I love to do, and I get to do that every day. That's how I avoid burnout.
Hey, I'm Brian Smith from Event Smith Boston. And for me, for recharging, with a busy season, I really have been focusing on making sure that I set boundaries with my clients and boundaries for myself. So I have to give myself days off. I am not going to answer an email on Sunday. And maybe that's not what most people think they do, but I found it's one of the best things for my own mind is to make sure that I make sure that there's days that are for me and not for anybody else. I will get back to you on Monday. You don't need to hear from me on Sunday.
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm MC Ricky G. I'm known as a memory, Ricky G from Total Entertainment, Double G Productions. Now, the question was, what do I do to recharge after a long weekend of doing parties and parties and parties within a month? Well, I love to work out. Eating right, working out, and of course spending time serving the people in my community is the way that I recharge. Now, I'm a little bit of the exception to the rule because I come with a lot of energy. Like, I don't need the type of where you have to sit down, relax, and shut things down. What I do is I focus on other people, and that recharges me. I'm MC Ricky G. Total Entertainment, Double G Productions. Peace.
Hey, what's up? This is DJ Scooter from Direct Music Service, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And what I do to recharge is take a break from my mind, and I get outside and I go on a walk. I also go out and I golf sometimes. It helps you break up the steady flow of thoughts, de-stress. Physical exercise is a key. Get out, enjoy the weather, smell the roses. It will tremendously help your workflow, I promise you. Recharge your energy, refocus your thoughts.
Hi everybody, Sean Big Daddy McKee here. I hope all are well, and it's an honor to be here, of course. How do you prevent burnout? The easiest thing you can do is you got to shut off every now and again. Stay off social media for a day, whatever the case may be. If you have family, concentrate on your family. As I was telling Dan before, this year, after everything, I'm doing about 300 events. I'm a grandfather of 6. Thank God for FaceTime, because that's what I do to unburn myself. That's what I do. Talk to my kids, talk to my grandkids, and I work out in the gym. That gets everything out. But remember, folks, everything we get to do is a blessing. And remember, first and foremost, if there's no them, there is no us. Remember that. Love you all. Thank you all. John Young, I made it through 5 minutes without cussing. You should be happy that I love you. Thank you, John, and thank you, everybody. You're the best. Appreciate it.
So my name is Lou Paris. I'm the founder of Q, and I'm also a DJ with Paris Creative. And what I do to try to personally get rid of burnout is I need that downtime. I go on little vacations when I can. I turn my attention to other hobbies just so I stay fresh as much as possible.
My name is Fox Feltman. I am with BTA Entertainment in New Bern, North Carolina, so coastal Carolina. So week in and week out, doing weddings and parties, what I do to kind of unwind and relax, it's not really a gig, but I host karaoke a couple of nights a week. I love to sing. My buddy Alan right over here, he sings. He's one of my DJs too, so we have a lot of fun doing that, but I have another business as well. I've got a food truck that my son and I run, so it's back and forth between those two businesses. But other than that, I like to take in a good movie or TV show, kind of binge watch, but music is the thing, man. There's never a burnout with it, for me anyway. So.
All right, hi, this is Joe Peralis from Fairfax, Virginia, owner of Fire Dog Entertainment. One of the things I do to avoid burnout is actually, as a full-time IT guy, weddings and being a DJ is actually what avoids me getting burnout. I like to use my unique perspective as a former volunteer firefighter to bring things to customers and clients that they may not think of as far as effects and everything else. But being a DJ is a passion, and it's what actually helps me prevent burnout.
All right, Scotty Rop from Scotty Rop Productions, based out of Virginia. Avoid the burnout. You gotta take them breaks every once in a while. Just take the day. Find out where you can take your little breaks during the day. And that's kind of it, like kind of schedule stuff in there.
So how do you avoid being burnt out? Remember why you started this. You wanted to become something big. You love music. You love making memories. Keep that in mind, because if you want to get burnt out, you failed. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Stay up top. Stay up top. Keep yourself motivated and keep your circles small. Don't go big. Keep your circles small and keep motivated.
So I'm Jay LaBella from LaBella and the Beat.
represent New Hampshire, and the way I recharge and rest up is to spend some time with the fam. If I regroup, get back to HQ, get outside, do something with nature, reconnect, that's the only way we can really get it all back together before we reset and wind up again for really exciting events. So that's what we got to do. Got to get back outside.
Hi, my name is Pascal from Quebec, Canada. Pascal.party is my company name. I do recharging, I'm doing yoga just to relax, having my muscle working, and I really enjoy it.
Hi, my name is Jason. The company is J-Tron Productions from Marietta, Ohio. And things I do to avoid burnout. I'm actually a full-time nurse, and this is my passion, is doing DJ. So I love to help people, and doing DJ and also being a nurse actually keeps me fresh. And seeing old people have a smile on their face, no matter what it is, like a wedding or in a nursing home and on their bed, that's how I reduce my burnout from life.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Wes Carpenter. I'm with Tactical Entertainment, and I've been DJing approximately 5 years now. I want to talk to you about two things. One, avoiding a DJ burnout, and two, how to stay refreshed during the times when you have events back to back. All right, let's move into the avoiding a burnout. A burnout is low motivation. You don't want to DJ no more. You lost your motivation for what your true passion is. And I've experienced that recently. I've been to some events to where I'm like, dang, can we just get this over with? I just want to go home. I'm just here, and wasn't really motivated. You know, no matter how the crowd moved, the crowd was awesome, and for me, I was just, why am I even here? So what I started doing was I started following other DJs and watching how they did their sets, and started building on what I was doing. And also I started purchasing some new equipment and trying new things, taking risks. At my next event, all my new equipment that I purchased and all everything that I followed, everything I've seen on the with DJ videos, I went out there and took some risk, and the risk was worth the reward because it worked out really great for me, and I was able to re-motivate myself and get that fire back in what my true passion is, and it's being a DJ. Granted, this is just a hobby of mine, but I really enjoy music. I really enjoy what I'm doing, and I want to continue that for as long as I can. Moving right along to how do I stay refreshed during those times that I have a lot of events back to back to back. Sometimes you just need to take a step back and take a break. But what I've been doing, like I said, during the avoiding a burnout, I've been starting to watch other DJs on YouTube, and also more recently I came to visit my cousin Dan up in Pennsylvania, and wow, what a true refresh that was for me to watch somebody that was really motivated. And I've been hearing a lot of good things about him, and I was like, dang, let me just come up and watch what he does. And he just really put a fire under my passion and helped me get remotivated again. And I've been watching his sets that he does and following other DJs on YouTube and just trying different things. Recently, he went to a DJ convention in New Jersey, and watching the things that he did really inspired me to take my DJing up a notch. So what I'm trying to do now is take what I've learned and put it towards my future events that I have. I hope that helped out about dealing with a DJ burnout, and also how to stay refreshed. It was just some things that I found that was helpful to me and to overcome a burnout and how to stay refreshed. Thank you.
So how cool was that little segment? Coming to you from DJ Expo there. A lot of great thoughts and ideas there coming from a lot of people. So that was kind of fun. We're going to keep on going here. We've got a couple more. We've got Tony up next, Sean, and then Mike Walter will be joining me here in about 25 minutes.
What's going on, DJNTV? Yours truly, Tony Fernandez here from Richmond, Virginia. Repping Soundwave Productions, my lovely little DJ company and sound company down here. And I'm actually at work, so I hope that doesn't throw everybody off. But I really wanted to participate in the video, so I'm taking time, playing a little bit of hooky, and trying to get you this content, because I really feel really strong about it. Just coming off being at DJX down in Atlantic City. Had a really good time, met up with a lot of friends, old ones, new ones. It was very cool. Started out kind of rough, and we'll get into that. Met up with Dan, and we actually talked about doing this video. So again, I feel thankful and humble that I'm getting to participate, and I wanted to share the reason this video is coming together. Part of it, I know the topic that Dan wanted to cover was to avoid burnout and stay refreshed with all the things that we have going on in DJ world. And it was very timely that this topic came up. And again, I'm humbled to contribute and be a part of it. So a little bit of background as to why I want to talk about this. So last Saturday before DJX, I had a really huge event that we take all year to actually plan it. And my timetable was such that Saturday was doing the event, Sunday I was planning on driving up to AC, being AC for DJX Monday through Wednesday, and then come back to Richmond Wednesday night, do another big event on Thursday. So what ends up happening is we do our event on Saturday. I'll try to keep this part short, but we end up doing our event on Saturday, and we got rained on, and it was pretty bad. So gear got soaked. So Sunday, I had to take the time to unload all my gear and kind of get it dried out and do testing and whatnot. And by the time I got done with all that, I was whipped. I was a whipped puppy. And like I said, I was supposed to drive up to AC, but I got caught up with all my gear. And as if I didn't have the event on Thursday, I may have fudged it a bit, but I had to make sure my gear was straight. So I spent literally all day Sunday taking care of the gear. Decided to not leave Sunday, drive up Monday, of course, because I was tired. I didn't get up to AC a little bit later than I wanted to. And so my week started really rough. I was really kind of like, physically depressed. I ended up having my shoulder hurt. I was mentally depressed because of all the stuff going on. Honestly, I was a little financially depressed because I had that gig go bad on me, and then I was getting word that my Thursday gig, which ended up getting canceled, but at this point I was worried about it because they were forecasting rain. So for my Thursday gig, so I was telling people that saw me on Monday, I was in a really bad place. My headspace was not great. So, but I would say by Tuesday, I actually felt a lot better, and I was very thankful to kind of turn that corner and how I got through it. Literally, I was a mess, like I said, Monday night, and I knew that I just couldn't carry that through the week. I knew that I just couldn't be, poor me and just be drawn in and not be in a good place because there was just too many people around, and I just didn't want to be, that person. I didn't want to be like a burden. Didn't want to come off whiny, and and I don't like being in that space. I don't like being in a like depressed. No one does, but I knew enough going in that I just kind of had to turn things around. So what ended up working out for me was literally, I remember getting up Tuesday morning, and I ended up getting a really good phone call, met with a good friend, did lunch. Actually, before I get ahead of it, I literally took a shower, and that kind of, and I really made a mental note, if you will, that I was kind of, I know it's kind of cheesy, but it really did work. I took a shower, and I just really made a mental note that I'm just going to wash all the negativity, if you will, away. And I did, the shower helped a lot. The lunch helped a lot. And I ended up, a side note, not to self-publicize, but I ended up having a session DJ-wise that maybe allowed me to play music, and I ended up having a really, really a longer session that I was supposed to have. And it was great because I got to work out demons, if you will. Not that was the purpose, but while I was there, I took the opportunity to kind of get focused at the job at hand and being able to play some really fun music and have the feedback. That's really what helped me get through it, was having people come through and walk around and listen to the music and listen to what I was doing. It really turned the corner for me. So for me, in the short run, in the immediate, it made all the difference in the world. To wit, also being around the people before that event, after that event, it just, I really made a conscious effort to be engaged and to just enjoy the moment, if you will, and be around people that I knew were going to be positive. I mean, the whole DJX experience for me tends to be a very positive experience because it's kind of a really crazy moment, obviously, because you've got thousands of people coming in, but the positive aspect is you get to meet people and reconnect with people that you contact virtually, and it's so good to see them in real life and to make that contact and make that network, not to mention the new people that you meet and you develop new relationships. So for me, it really was being able to be around people and help me get into a better space. But in generalities, again, I really appreciate Dan with DJNTV talking to me about doing this piece because I think it's something very important that DJs don't think about or focus on, because we do. We're busy. We're super busy. We're super responsible for other things. I just had a phone call today about a gentleman that was having some issues with sound in a band, and he kind of wanted to throw in the towel, and he was like, I don't want to let the band down, I don't want to let the client down. So we have a lot on our plates, and sometimes it is too much, but we have to grit and bear, and I think what we need to do to push through it and bear through it is to kind of stay calm, stay focused, focus on the stuff that you can do, and stay calm about it. There's no point freaking out and getting nippy and kind of getting overwhelmed, because that can be a snowball within itself that can get away from you and not be positive. So I know it's easier said than done, but I think it's really important that if you feel, you look at your calendar, you got all these gigs coming on, and some other curveball comes and throws a monkey wrench, but you still got to focus on everything at hand. It's just it is to be focused, be calm, concentrate on what you can control. I think for me, like I said with the story I just told you about the rain that ended a gig, the rain that would eventually cancel a gig for me, but I couldn't do anything about it. I'm in Jersey. What am I, concentrate and worry about what you can control. What you can't control, you kind of put it on a shelf. There's only so much you can do, and there's no point in worrying about things you can't control, because all you're going to do is, fester. And for me, that's what works. I think another aspect is if you have a really busy week or a really huge function where you have multiple things, you're wearing multiple hats. There's a lot of DJs that do production, so you're not just doing music, sound, you're doing video, you're doing lighting, you may do an LED wall, you're doing all kinds of things that require your attention. Is to break stuff down into smaller parts. Don't look at it as a whole. Look at it as compartments. Look at it as different parts. And once you see it, let's focus on this. And I can, you got a sound problem, no problem. Let's focus on that, get it done. We have a lighting issue, no problem. Let's look at that, get it done. Just recently, I think someone said this little cliche to me about, if you have to eat an elephant, you can do it. You look at an elephant, you're like, oh my God, how am I going to get this thing down my throat? Or, how am I going to get around it? Well, you can, but you got to do it one bite at a time. You can't just jump in there and do, it's too big. It's too big. You kind of have to break it down into smaller parts so you can manage it. And I think once you get your head wrapped around that construct, you can look at it more efficiently and go forward. It's not as big. You just kind of break it down, And I think one of the other aspects when things get crazy is make sure, I can't stress this enough, make sure that you have a support system. It could be your significant other, wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, a colleague, one of your boys, your brother, your sister, whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be someone that's in the business. It's just someone that understands who you are, what you're about, and can be that shoulder to lean on. It could be several people, it could be whatever. I'll tell you, when I was, like I said, with the DJX, thing, I was able to talk to my mom, and it wasn't even me bitching, if you will, or complaining. It was just able to just talk and just, talk things through, talk things out, and kind of just air out. And to have that support system where someone is just going to listen to you and accept you and understand what you're going through. Like I said, they don't have to be another DJ that goes, oh yeah, man, I understand, your speakers blew up. And they don't really have to know 100% what you're about, but they have to know who you are as a person and be able to support you as an individual. And I cannot, I'm super lucky. I've got friends and colleagues and family members that obviously some of my friends are in the business, some aren't. Colleagues are in the business. My family is not in the business, but they accept me for who I am. And I know if I need to contact them because I need a hand or I'm stuck or doing whatever, they're there for me. And I cannot stress how indispensable that is. So get yourself a support system and use it, because it will keep you sane. And I think another thing I'll throw out there in closing, if you will, is to be positive about yourself. Be cool about yourself. And in the context, if you feel that you have a big week coming up, or you just got done with a lot of events and you're kind of decompressing, take some time for yourself. You know, really take a half day, an hour, an afternoon, a couple days if you can do it for yourself, because you know you're either ramping up to a super busy week, or you're, like I said, you're just coming off a really super busy event, so you have to decompress. But take that time, you know, go catch a movie, you know, catch a couple episodes that you've been meaning to binge watch on Netflix or something, you know, go grab a pizza, you know, go to Starbucks or something. You haven't had your favorite drink or whatever, you haven't had your favorite meal in a while, you know, just do something that will allow you to just set your priorities, if you will. I don't want to say priorities, I don't want to make it sound like you're being irresponsible, but you know, you it's okay for just a minute, an hour and a half day, to put that monkey on your back, put it on the shelf, and you know, just take some time for yourself. And I would tell you, I do that, probably not as often as I should, but I do it, and it does reinvigorate you. It puts you in a better headspace, so you can, you know, like I said, especially if you're getting ready, you can refocus and be like, okay, again, I gotta eat that elephant, but now I can do it systematically and it's all good. Or I just got done and I'm like, you know what, I got nothing coming up for 4 or 5 days, I'm gonna chillax. I got something coming up, but you know what, it can wait. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna go, like I said, you know, watch whatever, do a movie, I'm gonna grab a meal, I've been meaning to catch up with so-and-so, let's go out and have a beer, whatever. So take the time for yourself to make sure that you can do what you gotta do, so you can hit on all cylinders when you're ready to. So there you go. Thank you so much. Dan, it was great meeting up with you. DJNTV, as always, thanks for supporting. And I will see you guys around the webs and online and hopefully in person. All right? Keep them spinning. Y'all take care.
All right, so welcome back. I am now with Sean Passin from Mountain View, California, the company named Shining City Music Entertainment. I've had the pleasure of knowing Sean for a few years, as I think many of you do as well. And you know, prior to coming on, we got talking about just, you know, how crazy the life can be, and you know, sometimes it's not just busyness with our events, but there's also personal sides. So, you know, first off, congratulations on the new child.
Thank you.
That is quite admirable. But we're gonna try and stick to mainly the business side here for that. So when we're talking about being busy through work, I think it's important for people to understand, to different people that means different things. What is considered a busy amount of events for you? 1 a weekend, 2 a weekend, 1 a month? Like what's typically busy for you?
Busy would probably be like 2 a month.
Okay.
Since I work full time in addition to having a DJ business, so I know there's a lot of people like me out there in similar circumstances.
Okay, so when you have those 2 a month, what are some things that you do to recharge? Let's say immediately after the event, because you know you go home, you got to be dad, you got to be on the game. You know, maybe even the next morning. What do you do to recharge kind of immediately?
One thing is, staying hydrated, you know, making sure that you stretch when you get home, putting things, you know, just taking your time, putting things away, and just planning things out as far as like cleanup. You may have an event. I've had events that are outdoors and there's like dust. We're in California, so there's not much rain here, so a lot of dust around. So, there's the element of cleaning up, and just you have to just take your time doing that. Maybe for me, I have some kids who are older, so they help out with cleaning up, but not doing it immediately. Just setting things aside and just exhaling and getting that rest. That's what's important to me.
Okay, so definitely something that you capitalize upon. You mentioned using your kids to kind of help. So that's something like, do do you typically have kind of like, this is my routine when I get home, this is how I'm going to do this? Or is it like, man, that was a really dusty event, they got some extra chores coming to them this week? Or do do you have kind of a plan in a certain way?
Well, I think number one, I get in, I rest, then I figure out like the plan just as time goes. So there might be sometimes some quality time, like one-on-one with my older son. Our youngest is 4 months, but I mean, our older son is 6 years old. So just, spending time cleaning the cables outside, that's awesome. And then explaining my gear to our older daughter, like what it does, and how things and just the elements that I use benefit others. So, I mean, I think it's just spur of the moment at times, because you can have some good quality time while you're cleaning up. It doesn't have to be out on going out. I mean, those are other times, but maybe you just need like a time where you can connect and talk and just listen.
That's nice, because, and that can also help for a lot of people who are in that full-time aspect, as you are, like full-time job, and then DJing in it as, we'll say, part-time. Sometimes that family time gets really kind of shafted. So being able to spend that extra time and get work that you need to get done it's kind of nice that you can marry those two together for that aspect. So
right. And it tells the kids, it teaches kids that there's work we have to do, that it's just a normal thing, because they're going to be moving into the world in due time, and just being able to learn that they have to be mindful of things, cleaning up things, maintaining things that are important to them, and helping others out as well. So it's a win-win.
Okay. Now, if you have multiple events, let's say things get crazy and somehow either you weren't careful to booking only 2 in a month, or you have, multiple, maybe back to back, what are some other things that you do to kind of stay up, so that you can attack those events, pretty much right away?
One thing is keeping active with exercise. So pretty physically active, and also, I mean, stretching a lot, because there's a lot of heavy stuff that we all lift, and also taking into account, like, well, how much does the piece of equipment weigh, and how can I change that or modify it at all so that I can lift a bit less. One other thing that's important to me that I do is I have an assistant that helps me with like the load in and load out, so and setup. So it just allows me the ability to have a breath before I get up there, rather than just trying to muscle through everything. So
let's kind of, now those are some of the things you do week in and week out. Let's look kind of bigger picture. You're in the middle of your season. You realize you still got the later half yet to go. What are some things that you do to kind of help keep yourself in that game for the long run? Like, looking ahead, going, oh my gosh, there's not an end in sight until, let's say, December. Of course, you guys probably go year round, so maybe not. Maybe your time off is never. But what are some things then that you do, like during that season, to kind of keep yourself moving forward?
Well, I think it's reflect on like the individual personalities for the clients that I have, and just understanding that I may have 1 month I may have a 50th anniversary, the next month I may have a wedding for a young couple. So just understanding that these are really unique events. Also looking back on events to see how I can improve and fine tune just the skills that I have, the tech that I use, the planning forms, and then just understanding. I think really understanding that person on the other side of the either the Zoom or the meeting will help just really apply just in the future, and it also help me. I realize for me it helps me have a better relationship with my clients, because I mean, you just really have you just really care for them at that point, when you learn who they are as an individual, rather than a number, or rather than just a gig. It's like a 50th anniversary is once in a lifetime event. A wedding, most of the times it's a once in a lifetime event, but it's regardless, it's something special and precious to somebody. So I think that's that's really how I just look forward and still keep in the game and keep a focus, and just understanding if I were in their shoes, what would I want out of a person serving me.
You hit on something that I think a lot of us tend to overlook when we talk about events. A lot of times we go, "Oh, a wedding is a once in a lifetime event," but so is that 20th anniversary party. So is that that whatever birthday that might be there. That's the only time that they turn that age. You know what I mean? So it's always a once in a lifetime event that sometimes I don't think we fully maybe appreciate. Sometimes we think, oh, they're not as important as a wedding. Yeah, it is. And that's their event. And so having that right focus, I think that is definitely key. So I want you to think, you've given us a bunch of tips so far, and I want you to kind of think about this for a second. If one of those or just even another one that you maybe have in your back pocket, but what do you think possibly is your best tip for avoiding burnout? So you talked about recharging and the things that you do, but what do you personally do just as your best way to avoid burnout?
I think probably my number one way is not every client is my client. And I think we hear that quite often, like especially on this channel. So I think there can be, as a DJ, the motivation to make that person your client, whether it be dropping prices or adding add-ons on for a special deal. I think if you get the vibe that like this isn't working out, it could be someone who's way off. There might be folks that are just that way, or it could be just like a personality conflict that there's just a difference of priorities, and it's just not a good match. Maybe it's a better match for someone else. So yeah, I think being able to just say no to someone who's not a good match for an event, I think that's the best thing we can do as DJs for ourselves, and probably for that couple or individual on the other side, because I think if y'all are not digging each other, then it's probably best to get somebody who's a good match. So yeah, that's something that's really that's number one for me.
Okay. So if somebody would like to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more, in between and stuff, what would probably be the best way that they could reach out to you?
Okay, you can reach out to me on socials, Facebook, Instagram. You can email me at djsean@shiningscitymusic.com. Yeah, love to talk with you.
Awesome. Sean, thank you very much for taking time. We'll be back.
All right, we are ready for the final session for tonight's DJNTV training night. That was tougher to say than I thought it was going to be, Mike. Mike Walter's joining us, and we are live here for this last little part. So if you've got questions about anything we're going to talk about, we will do our best to answer those, and you just put those into the little chat area tonight. So, Mike, thank you for coming on this evening.
John, thank you for asking me. I was honored that you wanted me on for this topic. Out of every topic, I just think that this one is so important to everybody in our industry. So, thank you for thinking of me when you thought of this topic.
Yeah, and one of the areas that kind of really brought you to top of mind when it came to this is you've had these schedules that you are putting out your monthly schedule, like all the young DJs do. And you've got to, there's some.
That's why I do it. I saw the young whippersnappers doing it. So I was like, hey, I want to get in on that. I want to be part of the cool kids club.
And there's some it's like, holy cats, I'm looking at this. It's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. When does this man breathe? Oh, yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, especially last year. 2021 was certainly one of those years because of 2020 got shoveled most of it into 2021. It just made for a terrifically busy year. Very good financially, but kind of insane as far as busyness goes,
So let's kind of start when Mike Walter is trying to keep his mojo going, his head in the game. He's in the midst of the wedding season of 2021, or even this year. You've been fairly busy also. Where do you start?
So tip number one that I would offer to anybody who's listening, anyone in this industry or other, is you should always have your next vacation planned. And that was a big thing. My wife Kelly and I made plans probably earlier than this last year. Yeah, definitely. By spring of last year, we made plans. We booked a 10-day vacation in Jamaica in February of 2022, so 6 months ago. And I can't tell you how many times, John, I was so close last year to burning out and just, spinning off the track. But I said to myself, Mike, you got 10 days in Jamaica coming up. Just get there. Just keep your eye on the prize. That's the light at the end of the tunnel. If I did not have that vacation pinned on the calendar, and when I say booked, it wasn't like Kelly and I were like, hey, let's see if we can go to Jamaica in February. We bought the airfare. We booked the resort. I blocked off the dates to my schedule. We had the dogs, in their resort. My dogs go away. They enjoy it. They love when we go away too. But I mean, specific plans, and that vacation really kept me sane last year.
Having a bullseye to aim for.
Exactly. Something.
I want to take this in a little bit now. Does this correlate? Because a lot of people who have been following myself have been, I've been talking about running 5Ks and training to that. Is it very similar to that situation where you're training for a running event and how you're able to train more effectively and do things more effectively because you have that ahead of you?
Absolutely. I've had people ask me, because I've been running, I'm not a great runner, but I've been running as my exercise for about 15 years now. And I've had a lot of people ask me, hey, I want to get into running. What's your advice? My first thing is get yourself a quality pair of sneakers and sign up for a 5K. Choose a 5K 3, 4, 5 months from now, whatever it is, but book it, pay the entrance fee, pin it on your calendar, give yourself something to start training for. And you will. So yes, it's very similar to that. But have you done that 5K yet, John?
I've done 3 of them this summer.
Nice.
So I've gone from
what's your PR?
My best, I just finished that. I did a 8 minute, 29 second mile rate.
Very nice.
Considering 6 months ago I had the knee surgery, it was a process.
Listen, they call it a PR, and for any non-runners that are unfamiliar with that, all that means is personal record. And you don't compare your PR to anybody else but yourself. So every time now you sign up for a 5K, that's what you're shooting for. You just try to beat your last personal record. You can't always do it. I could never at this point. I set my PR in 5K 7 or 8 years ago. I could never come near it. But yeah, I mean, that's you don't compare yourself to me, Jay Sims. Don't compare yourself to anybody. You now have a PR, and it's something to be proud of.
And I think even kind of bringing that back to the DJ, I think that there's some people out there who are like doing a couple of events a weekend, and they are like totally fried. And then they look at you, and you've done 4 events in a week, and on Sunday you're still the chipper, the spry guy. And
and then I look at Big Daddy, and I feel like my schedule is like part time. So it's all a matter of perspective. And you're right. You should do the same thing. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. And I've heard a number of people. I was listening to the people you had on prior, not all of them, but I heard a number of them talk about setting boundaries and having specific. And I think that's important. Everyone should come up with what is your dream schedule. For some people, it's 40 events a year, and that's all they want to do, and that's fine. My dream schedule is 75 events a year. That to me is a perfect schedule, income wise. I still love doing events, but I don't want to burn out. I did 120 last year, so just comparatively, It was almost double what my dream schedule is. But come up with what you want to do, and don't compare it to anybody else. Who cares if somebody does twice as many events as you or half as many events? Just come up with your schedule. That's one of the great things about being a business owner. You can decide how much or how little you want to work.
Certainly. Okay, so you mentioned, again, we're going to go on some weird tangents here, I think, tonight, Mike, with our time. You mentioned...
John, every time I talk to you, it's a pleasure. We could go down a million different tangents.
75 events. Do you look at it as, I want to do this many events, this is my optimal schedule, or do you look at it as, I want to do this amount of financial booking, I want to book $100,000 or work $100,000 worth of events? How do you look at that?
It's sort of both. Okay. I mean, that schedule for me it keeps my feet or toe in the water as far as performing. Many, many years ago, about 15 years ago, I was really cutting back on my personal schedule. I owned the company, and I was like kind of phasing out as far as performing. I think the fewest I did one year was like 22 personal events. And John, to be honest with you, I was miserable. I felt like, wait, I didn't do this. I didn't get into this business to run a DJ company. I got into this business to perform. I still enjoy performing.
Sure.
And so I've really I've tinkered with my schedule now, and I have found that 75 is enough events to keep me enjoying the performance, but not burning out, and also financially. I mean, I do have certain financial goals that I want to hit every year, and 75, me doing personally 75 events helps me get there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, tip. No, you have a second tip for us.
So, again, I don't know if I'm going to be repeating stuff because I didn't hear everybody.
No, that's quite all right.
But I think recognizing that your home needs to be a sanctuary is extremely important. And that might sound basic, but you know, our jobs are stressful. We get home late at night a lot. Sometimes we only have a few hours. We go to bed and we get up and we go right back to work. But making sure that your home, and whatever that means to you, you know, different people have a different definition of what a sanctuary is. Part of it is the relationship that you're in. I can speak from experience. Many, many years ago, I was in a really crappy relationship. And I remember a few times like not even wanting to go home because I knew after an event and everything else, I was going to get a clash at home. And so whether you're in a relationship or not, having somebody at home who supports you and cares for you and understands the stresses of your business is important. But just making sure that when you get home, it's like, that's your zen, as opposed to, oh, now I'm home and there's even more stress.
Sure.
That's not a very healthy place to be.
So how did you make that transition? Because 2020 home was your office there for a period of time. You were working and doing some things there.
You want to know something funny? I closed my office is about 4 miles from my house. And I closed, you know, at March, whatever, 2020, when they shut everything down. I closed my office. I have 2 people who work in my office, and I said, you guys work from home. But for some odd reason, John, I was going into the office, not every day, but a lot of days, just because I feel more efficient when I'm at my desk. I'm not saying I don't work from home. I certainly do work from home, but I just like to be surrounded by my stuff at my desk. So even though there was no reason to go into the office, there were days where I sat there and, you know, the only email I handled was 3 postponements that day, but I still like to be in the office. It was a weird thing. Yeah.
Sure. No, and that makes perfect sense. And because a lot of us were working from home for such a period of time, and that became a tougher transition for some of our friends.
And maybe that's part of it, is that I do like to have that separation. Like I said, I don't mind working from home, but I do like to like this evening. I mean, I put a long day in the office, but when I left this evening about an hour ago, that was it. I could close the office and I don't have to look at emails now until tomorrow. So there is that separation of like, it's not just, my office isn't just in the other room, you know?
Sure. Good tip. Good information. What do you have for next?
So like I said, recognizing that we are in a stressful business, I think is extremely important, because I think to the public, it seems like our job is fun, and it is fun. You know, what we do, and that's one of the reasons why I hated it when I had limited my bookings down to 20-ish, because I was like, no, it's fun every weekend. But even though it's fun, it is very stressful. You know, I know some people say if you find something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I disagree with that, because I love DJing, but I still work. It is still work for me, between the loading in and dealing with drunk uncle and the stress of like making sure everything goes well. It's you know, recognizing that fact that even though the vast majority of people go, oh, you're a DJ, oh, what a great career, that sounds like fun. Yeah, it is. But understanding that you still do deal with stresses, I think, is important.
And especially when you're doing multiple, I think that those stresses, it isn't like, okay, I ended the event and all that stress is gone. From my experience, it seems that, okay, I have an event and there was stress and we got done with it, and okay, great. But then I'm going to the next one on the next day. And it's not like all of a sudden you got back down to 0. You're kind of like taking off, and then you're starting from a point because a weekend.
It's funny you say that, because going back to that Jamaica trip, first of all, Kelly and I had never done 10 days at a resort. Like we've done 10-day vacations like in London, but those are different vacations because you're going like every day. You're getting up, you're going to different place. We literally in Jamaica did nothing. Like we left the resort one day to go like 5 miles up. But it wasn't until day 7 that we both looked at each other and went, we're finally there. Like all the stress is gone. Like it took a full week for, we both were like, hey, I think we're finally at Zen. So I'm so glad that wasn't a 5-day vacation. I'm so glad that we actually booked 10 full days.
Wow. That's surprising because, you do you defend your personal time so well and get yourself onto the beach and to do different things. And it still took a week to wind down.
Yeah. And I think if you're going to ask me what my next tip is, I think that would be my next tip. Even though I only had one vacation last year, I definitely steal, and I don't even want to say steal because that makes it sound like I shouldn't be doing it, but I make sure I have little pockets of time. Tuesday is usually my day out of the office. So for example, we're talking right now on Monday. I've been looking at the weather forecast all day for tomorrow because it's iffy whether it's going to be a beach day or not. But
Right.
I'm probably going to go run on the boardwalk in the morning. And even if it's not a great beach day, I'll plant my chair in the sand and chill for a couple hours. I love the commercial, what is it, Corona, right? That says, find your beach.
Yes.
Corona beer.
I think so.
I think that's essential because, listen, I love the beach. Kelly and I live 8 miles from Asbury Park. To me, that's my zen. I wish we had a longer beach season here. It's pretty much 3 months out of the year where I can crash on the beach. But the beach isn't for everybody. Some people hate the beach. Some people prefer the lake or the mountains or, playing around a golf. To me, golf is a 4-hour waste of time. But for a lot of people, that's their escape. So whatever it is, find your beach, and whatever it is, make sure that you carve out some time in your schedule, whether it's weekly or twice a month or whatever, to say, this is what I'm doing. You can't touch it. You can't, like, if a client says to me, hey, I can meet next Tuesday afternoon, I go, sorry, Tuesday's not good for me.
So when you get out of the beach season, for the other 8 months or so of the year where you aren't able to go down there and be on the beach, what do you do on Tuesdays? I enjoy
going for hikes. So a lot of times I'll take one of the dogs for a hike. There's a number of state parks in the area. I'm a voracious reader. So even just sometimes laying on the couch all day and reading a good book, to me, that is a very chill day, especially if it's a winter day and it's too cold to kind of be outside. And I know you're scoffing at that because you're too cold and my too cold are two different things. But if it's below 40 and I don't feel like going outside, you give me a good book and a couple hours of just chill on the couch. To me, that's again, that's my beach. Some people love spending a day vegging on the couch watching TV. To me, I watch movies, but I don't watch a lot of TV shows. I'd rather read a book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Okay. What do you have for us next?
You're tapping me dry here, John.
Well, I want to go in a couple of directions. I'm waiting for you to. I don't want to go to one of your topics in my question until you're there.
Well, lead me there. Maybe I'm drawing blank.
What I want to do is I want a lot of people so far have talked about health and then taking care of that. And I know that's been a big part of, and I'd really like to kind of dig into that one a little bit more. So
this is something I discovered. I was approaching 40 and I heard a saying that the shape you're in at 40 is going to be the shape you're in for the rest of your life. Now, obviously that's not 100% true because you can decide at any age to, hey, I'm going to make a change. I'm going to get myself in shape. But the truth in that statement is the fact that it gets harder the older you get.
Very true.
You can get away with an awful lot of stuff in your 20s and even your 30s health-wise that you can't get away with in your 40s and 50s. And pretty much for most people, you've established your habits by the time you hit 40. Now, again, you can change those habits, but they get harder and harder. So that saying really kicked me in the groin. I don't want to say morbidly obese, but I was overweight. I was, in my late 30s. I had kind of let myself go, if you will. And I just decided I was going to be in better shape by the time I hit 40. And I lost a bunch of weight and I started running. I ran my first marathon before I hit 40 and I ran a number of them after 40. But that was a big change for me. And what I learned from all that is exercise itself can help you. What's the main topic tonight? Avoid burnout.
Yep.
Releasing stress and energy through whether it's a run or lifting weights or CrossFit or whatever your choice of working out is. Besides the fact that the end result is you're healthier at the end, which is great, but the actual act of exercising can be phenomenal. I love nothing more than, like I said, tomorrow I'll do 4 or 5 miles on the boardwalk. I will sweat it all out and I'll be exhausted afterwards, but it will feel great. And whatever stress I'm carrying right now in my body, I'll leave a lot of that one on the run.
Now, when you first started back and you were training for that first event, were there were there pitfalls that happened as you were getting into this, kind of going from I don't want to say sedentary lifestyle, but not.
You can say sedentary.
Yeah,
oh yeah, if you knew me in my late 30s, I was pretty sedentary. Yes.
And then as you started getting into that, because there are people out there watching, and I know because they comment and have mentioned that you've been an inspiration for them for out in running, and I being one of them.
Thank you.
So they're seeing that and they're like, well, gosh, he can run 4 times a week and he's doing great. But starting out, it isn't.
It is difficult. And a good friend of mine is starting a health regimen and he's trying to incorporate running. And my best advice to him and to anyone who's just getting into it is just slow down. Don't worry about your time per mile. Worry about your distance. Try to do, if you can't do 1 full mile without stopping, then slow it down a little bit and get to the point where you can do 1 mile and then try to do 1.5. But don't even look at your time. As long as you're moving, as long as you're running or jogging or whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter if you're clocking 12-minute miles or 14-minute miles. It doesn't matter. We all burn about the same amount of calories per mile. The only difference is if you do 8-minute miles and I do 7-minute miles, and I'm burning it at a minute faster. That's all.
Yep.
So don't, until you build up and get to the point where you can do 3 or 4 miles without stopping, don't even look at a watch. Don't even have any thought about how fast you're going. And certainly don't compare yourself to anyone else. You, John, I'm running faster than you. You shouldn't compare yourself to me. Do you know Jay Sims from Chicago?
Yes, I do.
I could never touch his times.
Yep.
Jay runs 2-minute miles, 2 minutes faster per mile than me.
Yeah.
So if I look at my times versus Jay, I'd quit. I'd say, well, screw it. I'm never going to be that fast.
Yeah.
So don't compare yourself to anybody else. And especially early on, don't even look at the time. Just be happy that you ran 1 mile and then 1.5 miles and 2 miles. But again, I want to go back to my first advice. Make sure you have a good quality pair of sneakers. Don't just go to Sports Authority and put something on and go, okay. I don't know if you have them in your town, but a lot of towns have specific running stores that will literally analyze your gait. In other words, like when I first started running, I went to a place in Shrewsbury right up the road. They had me take off my shoes and I ran on a treadmill, and they have a video camera behind the treadmill and they videotape your or video record. How old do I sound?
Yeah,
videotape.
you kind of
They take the VHS out and they slow it down afterwards and they show you how you land, because everybody's footstep is slightly different. And then based on, some people pronate to the outside. Some people fall hard on their toes. Some people fall hard on their heels. Based on your gait, they recommend, okay, this should be a good shoe. I'm an Asics guy. I've worn Asics my whole running career, but someone else, they might recommend a Nike or a Reebok. So get a good quality pair of sneakers. And then if you get into any training, you should replace those sneakers every 300 to 400 miles. I do that regularly and I feel the difference. Like I just bought a new pair of sneakers. My old pair I had like 350 miles on them. I bought a new pair. The first day I put that new pair on, I felt the springy difference.
Mm-hmm. I imagine.
So the shoes, a good sneaker after 300 to 400 miles needs to be replaced.
For sure. And those are some of the things I've been picking up as doing as much as I've been doing the last couple of years, is that they don't last forever. And it stinks because you're paying a premium price for these shoes, and 300 miles is...
Yeah, but you know what? I'll say this about running. Running is the easiest thing to do as far as equipment goes. Other than a pair of sneakers, you really don't need anything. You don't need rackets and like a good bicycle costs thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? You really, and that's one of the things I love about it. I can run anywhere, anytime. I just came back from Atlantic City, DJ Expo. I brought my sneakers down with me. 2 mornings that week, I went for a run on the boardwalk.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to bring a bicycle with me or extra equipment or anything else. That's one of the things I love about running. Yes, you got to spend some money on a good pair of sneakers, and you got to replace them, once or twice a year. But that's it. I mean, other than that, you just need some good running gear.
Let's transition from the working outside of it, whether it's weightlifting, walking, whatever you're doing. Let's transition to the diet and how important it is to be watching and aware of what you're eating.
Well, see, this is where I'm lacking because I could definitely be better when it came to diet. If I combine the exercise that I do with a better diet, I'm not saying I'd look like Marcello, but I would look a lot better, a lot closer to Marcello than I do. My trade-off in my head, and maybe this is one of the ways I avoid burnout, is I work out so that I can not be a gavoon, but so that I can eat, to my content. I love rich food. I love cheese. I do like a drink every once in a while, which is bad, empty calories and everything else. So my trade-off in my head is when I'm not working out, when I have a lazy week, well, then I better watch what I'm eating. But if I'm running and burning my calories and working out down in the basement and burning calories, then I consider myself to have a little bit of leeway when it comes to diet. I can probably be better with that. But I also think food is one of the true joys in life, and I don't want to live a life of denial, Yeah,
I remember you've talked about that a few times, where that is an important part of your experience, and you enjoy that so much that thing A will allow you to do thing B.
Yeah, I've always looked at exercise that way. Like I burn it, and then I kind of feel like I've earned it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I do try to eat healthy in the fact, like, I don't remember the last time I had fast food. Kelly and I cook, and when we cook, we usually try to cook on the healthier side. We don't fry food. We don't, we grill rather than frying, things like that. But yeah, I mean, could I be better when it came to diet? Absolutely.
Over the weekend or the weekends that you have the multiple events, how do you handle weird hours and trying to maintain your energy by eating properly?
Well, as far as eating properly goes, I guess I'm fortunate that most of the banquet halls that we work at feed us, so I don't even have to usually pack a meal with me. But to me, the eating for events isn't really that big a deal. It's the sleeping. And maybe this makes me sound like an old man, but I am a firm believer in naps. Mm-hmm. Especially because even when I don't want to, I usually get up earlier. Like sometimes I'll get home from an event and I'll hit the bed at like 1:30 and I'll be like, I have nothing to do tomorrow. I'm going to sleep in, and 7 a.m. I'm up. And I'm like, why am I up at 7 a.m.? Kelly didn't wake me. The dogs didn't wake me. I'm just up.
Yep.
But if I have an event that night, I am a firm believer, even if it's just 20 to 30 minutes, of at some point that afternoon, getting some quiet time and taking a nap, and that recharges my battery. Now, I know some people don't like naps. Some people are like, nope, once I fall asleep, I want to sleep for 8 hours. But I'm a firm believer in getting little cat naps in.
Sure, and that definitely helps regenerate, power a little bit for the afternoon and evening. For
yeah.
For surely. Mike, we've got about 5 minutes left. Did you have any topics or the areas you wanted to hit before I continue?
I think we've covered it. Are there any questions in the chat?
Oh goodness, they've been chatting back and forth here across Facebook. Okay. They've been just some people are talking about food at the end of the night when they're starved. Is one that someone had just asked a question before we started talking about food, because that is.
Well, listen, if you work at banquet halls that don't regularly feed you, then my recommendation is to pack something, because like I said, I don't eat fast food. I resist the temptation. But if I went if I didn't get fed at a gig and then I'm driving home and now it's midnight and I'm starving, the problem is you don't have a lot of healthy options at that point.
For sure.
And so I understand that the temptation might be too strong. You see those golden arches up ahead. You go, oh, let me drive through there. But you could avoid that by being prepared, and especially if you work at places that don't feed you.
Yeah. That's one of the lessons I taught Michael as we've been doing that, is that just because those microwave burgers at gas stations are evil. They are definitely evil.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! I had one more thing I wanted to hit. We talked about. Oh, we started off air. We talked a little bit about delegation. And
oh my God, so important, especially if you have any kind of depth to your company. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that. How that helps you to alleviate some of the stresses and to be able to not have all that weight on your shoulders.
Yeah, like I said, tomorrow is my day out of the office. I don't like to call it my day off because I'll be honest with you, sitting on the desk on the beach tomorrow, I might check my emails and even respond to a client. But to me, I'm not in the office, and that's great. But I do have 2 people in the office tomorrow. Lynn will be in the morning. Dominic is in the afternoon and evening. So it's not like Elite doesn't function on a Tuesday when I'm not in the office. If you're a smaller company and you can't afford to have full-time people in the office, maybe just try to find somebody part-time or somebody that can help you out. But yeah, I mean, delegating and not having to do every single thing for your company it's so important.
How tough was that for you to let go and let other people do some of those tasks, especially early on when you were first?
John, it wasn't hard for me, mainly because my history. I started with a larger company in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. My first 4 years was at a company that had already kind of set up a structure like that. Like I worked in their office. I also DJ'd for them. So as soon as I left them with a partner, get Elite Entertainment going, my goal early on was we want to get big enough so that we can hire somebody to do this, so we can bring in somebody to do that. So it wasn't hard for me. I do feel bad for the people who have that kind of, no, I can't, I got to do everything. I'll never find somebody who cares as much as I do. I didn't come from that kind of business model, so it wasn't difficult for me at all.
Sure. Having that
it was actually a goal. Like my goal was to build Elite to the point where I could have people working for me in the office and other DJs and everything else.
Excellent. The last question we'll hit, and then we'll wrap things up. You were very busy at DJ Expo. You were speaking. You were doing the seminar room.
Yep.
A lot of people have talked about the conventions, and myself included, that these are kind of a time to recharge because you're able to connect with friends and talk shop. Was DJ Expo a time for you to do that? And do you find the conventions and things as that kind of a recharge for you?
Yeah, listen, I'm busier at that show than I am at any other show, just because, like you said, I not only did a seminar, but then I'm providing the music in the main seminar room for those 3 days. So, other than one seminar that Michael Leveris spelled me for so I could go take a break, other than that one, I was in the seminar room for every single seminar, providing sound, mixing in between. But even still, I had 3 phenomenal dinners, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, with some great friends, some great conversation. So yeah, even with all that, it was still a chance to recharge. The next show that I'm going to is DJ Collective, and I'm involved in that show a little bit, but not nearly as much as I was last week. So that will be even more of an opportunity for me to not only get some education, but also network and recharge. I can't emphasize enough to your listeners how important it is to attend at least one convention a year. If you've never done it, you're gonna kick yourself after it and go, why haven't I been doing this?
Why have I waited so long? Yes.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you will come back with an appreciation for your industry that you've never had.
So at the convention, you have hallway conversations, you have educational content in the seminar room, you have going to dinner with someone, and then you maybe have going to a cocktail or having a cocktail with someone later in the evening. Which one of those is the time where Mike Walter feels afterwards that, yeah, this was the energizing part. This was the re-energizing.
Well,
which one?
It's funny. Like, I had a dinner on Monday night with some friends. We barely talked about the business. We talked a little bit about the business, but more about other stuff. And then the second night, there was a guy just chewing my ear. Like, he just wanted to talk business, asking me a bunch of questions. And I finally was like, I actually moved my seat to get away from him, because I was like, I've been thinking and talking to business. Like, it's cool to sit down with DJs and not talk about the DJ business. Yeah. You can talk about other interests that you have, sports, relationships, travel. To me, the most interesting people in the world can talk about a variety of subjects and not just what they do for a living. Listen, I love talking about the DJ business, but I also love talking about my last vacation or my upcoming vacation, or how bad my Cowboys are going to be this year. Like I consider myself a pretty diverse and well-rounded person. I'd rather have conversations, especially after a full day of education in the DJ business. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about the trip that you just went on, or tell me a funny story or whatever. So that to me is the best way to escape with industry friends, but you don't necessarily need to talk about the industry.
For sure. No, I definitely echo that statement. Mike, our time is up, my friend. Went very, very quick. Wow. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure talking to you, John.
It was great
I love you. You're a mentor of mine in the industry, and you've done a lot to help further my career, and I hope I've done the same for you with this Jockey News. I think it's been a win-win, our relationship through the years.
That it has, and I appreciate you tremendously, my friend. Thank you guys for being with us tonight. You can go out in a few minutes. The Hanging with Howie show is going to start at djntv.com/chill. You type that in, it'll take you to the Zoom meeting. They will be doing a little recording here at the beginning of that, and then after that, it's kind of the hallway talk that we just were referring to. This is our digital version of that hallway talk, and you guys can go have some fun with that, and we'll catch you next time. Mike, once again, thanks for being on.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Good night, everybody.